School year.
So you're happy to have ICE there, even though, as far as we can tell, there are videos of them standing around, yawning, eating candy bars, or...
Right here, this is where the entire hearing cracks open. Dan Goldman corners the chief with a question she cannot seem to answer, and instead of clarity, you get hesitation, circular talking points, and a moment so uncomfortable you can practically feel the tension spreading across the room. And the best part? This explosive exchange doesn't come out of nowhere. It builds. It simmers. It tightens with every passing second until Goldman finally drops the line about ICE agents standing around yawning, eating candy bars, or tackling someone in front of her daughter. And when he says it, you can see the oxygen leave the witness's confidence. Today, we're breaking down how this hearing became a slow-motion unraveling, not because Goldman was hostile, but because the answers he got kept drifting, wobbling, and circling back without ever landing. Watch what happens here. From the very start, Goldman tries to get one simple on-the-record answer. Would the TSA chief rather have TSA fully funded, or ICE personnel stepping in at airports? That's it. It's not a trick.
Gentleman yields back, and I recognize the gentleman from New York, Mr. Goldman, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. McNeill, would you rather have a fully funded TSA or ICE agents assisting TSA at airports during a shutdown?
I would like to have all the hardworking men and women of the Department of Homeland Security be paid for the work.
That wasn't my
they're
question.
doing.
Would you rather have your agency fully funded so everyone can be paid and retroactively, or would you rather have ICE officers assisting you at airports?
If DHS is funded, TSA will be funded.
And would you rather have that, or would you rather have the ICE agents who are at airports right now helping you?
I think that if we don't want ICE agents
Can
working
you
at
just answer the
airports, then
question?
you need to fund the department. So
It's
that we
not
can
a
get back to
complicated
normal
question,
order.
ma'am. It's not a complicated question. Would you rather have TSA funded or ICE agents helping your agency at the airport?
Paying the employees for the work that they are doing is also not a complicated question.
Well, I'm asking the questions, and you're answering them, and I would like to understand whether you are happy to have ICE agents there or whether you would rather have your own TSA officers there.
Under normal order, they would be performing, TSA would be performing our operations, and that is the ideal state. But I am also thankful for ICE for being there to help alleviate the burden that our workforce is feeling because we are in the third shutdown of this facility.
That right there is the opening salvo, and already the ground is shaking. From the first few seconds, you can tell Goldman is not here to meander through polite hypotheticals. He's here to get a straight answer, and he is absolutely not getting one. Let's break down why this first part hits so hard. Goldman asks a clean, simple question. Would you rather have a fully funded TAA or ICE agents assisting during a shutdown? It is binary. It is direct. It's the kind of question designed to force a witness to pick a lane. But instead of picking one, the TSA chief goes into the generic message loop, talking about hardworking employees, expressing gratitude, emphasizing that ideally TA handles its own work. But Goldman recognizes the dodge instantly. He cuts right in with one of the sharpest pivots of the day. That wasn't my question. And boom, the power dynamic flips. From that point forward, she's on defense. She's no longer shaping the narrative, she's trying to keep up with his framing. Every time she tries to slide back into a safe, broad answer, Goldman tightens the screws. When she says, basically, if DATES is funded, TSA is funded, Goldman responds by circling right back to the core choice she keeps avoiding. And this is the moment where you can feel the tension in the room rise. Because the more she dodges, the more obvious the evasion becomes. This is classic congressional hearing pressure. The aggressive questioner begins asking shorter, sharper questions, while the witness responds with longer, vaguer answers. That contrast tells viewers everything they need to know. But then comes the turning point. The moment Goldman lists the footage, ICE agents standing around yawning, eating candy bars, or even tackling someone in front of her daughter, that is the shift from procedural discomfort to outright public accountability. Goldman is saying, in effect, If ICE is supposed to be the solution, why does it look like this? Suddenly, the witness is stuck defending something she didn't even ask for. She never said she wanted ICE agents there, but she can't openly oppose them either, because that opens up a political landmine. So she tries to retreat into procedural language, multitude of ways, credential authentication machine, under TSA protocols. But by that point, the momentum is entirely in Goldman's hands. He's setting the terms, he's defining the visuals. He's establishing that ICE's presence isn't an improvement, it's a symptom of a much bigger failure. And he's preparing the runway for the next explosion, the one where he exposes who actually blocked the funding. Let's roll into that part.
Tackling someone and arresting a woman in front of her daughter in the San Francisco airport, it seems to me like there's not a whole lot they're doing, but one thing that Mr. Homan said they were doing was checking identification. So do you have any concerns about passengers whose identification are being checked by ICE agents who are armed and may arrest them?
The ICE agents that are at the airports where we're seeing long lines are helping in a multitude of different ways. The credential authentication machine at the travel document checker is one thing that they are helping us operate, and they are doing that under TSA protocols and standard operating procedures.
So let's talk about this funding, because I hear my colleagues on the other side of the aisle wax poetic and melodramatic about how awful it is that your officers are not funded, are not able to work and get paid. And I want to be very clear, I 100% agree with that. The problem is that it is the Republicans who have voted down TSA funding over and over and over again. And you don't have to take my word for it. Let's listen to Senator Kennedy on Fox News, if we could play the clip.
The Democrats have offered to open up everything but ICE. Ted and I said, okay, let's accept their offer. And then at the same time, we would offer a bill for reconciliation where we don't need any Democratic votes to do whatever we wanted to do with ICE. And that way we're out of the shutdown and DHS is back open. We submitted that, Senator Cthulhu submitted that to President Trump, as is his right. He said no. No deals with the Democrats. So we're back to square one.
No deals with the Democrats. The Democrats offered to open up everything but ICE, but Trump said no deals with the Democrats. That is a Republican senator. And that is why we are sitting here today with none of your agencies being funded. And I am sorry that you have to deal with this. I am sorry you are having to get by with no funding, with people having to literally leave their job so they can take another job and get paid. That is absolutely unacceptable, and you are right to be frustrated, and I am concerned about our homeland security. I am concerned about CISA. I am concerned about the damage it is causing. And that is why you ought to call your boss, President Trump, and tell him to take the offer.
Here's where the confrontation transforms from tense to devastating. Goldman pivots from frontline airport operations straight into the political engine driving the entire crisis. Up to this point, everything has been about symptoms, long lines, ICE involvement, unpaid workers, confusion at airports. But now, he gets to the root cause. Republicans blocked DH funding. And he doesn't say it in vague terms. He doesn't rely on Democratic talking points. He goes straight to a Republican senator's own words. That clip he plays, that's the nuclear moment of the hearing. Because once the senator admits, on Fox News no less, that Democrats offered to open everything except ICE, and the Trump White House said no deals. The entire Republican narrative collapses. Goldman uses that clip like a crowbar. You can watch the dynamic shift again. The SA chief isn't even the direct political target here, but she becomes the human face of the consequences. She is the one stuck dealing with the shutdown, the unpaid workers, the endless disruptions. And Goldman is making clear, these problems were manufactured by the people refusing to pass funding. And once he lays that groundwork, he doesn't hold back. He spells out exactly what the shutdown is costing SA. Workers leaving their posts just to find paid work. Families living paycheck to paycheck with nothing coming in. National security gaps growing wider every day. And he does it not with anger, but with disappointment. The kind that hits harder than shouting. Then he drops the final hammer. Call your boss, President Trump, and tell him to take the offer. This is one of those moments that feels like a freeze frame in a political documentary. A sitting member of Congress telling a witness to call the president and tell him to stop tanking her entire department. You rarely hear something that blunt. And if you watch closely, you can feel the tension in the witness's posture. She knows exactly what Goldman is implying. This shutdown, this crisis, this chaos, it's not inevitable. It's not a bipartisan failure. It's a choice. A choice made by one side. Goldman's closing line, that is why you are sitting here today with none of your agencies being funded, lands because it's the first time in the hearing that someone says the quiet part out loud with supporting evidence. It reframes the entire situation. This isn't a logistical problem. It's a political blockade. And the moment he completes that argument, you can feel the room settle into a new reality. It's no longer a debate about ICE agents at airports or authentication machines or operational protocols. If you want more breakdowns like this where powerful people get pressed on the record, hit subscribe and drop your take in the comments. Who do you think came out stronger in this hearing? And what was the one moment that changed the whole exchange?